Hey guys, this is the DreamItAlive show. I'm your host, Ash Kumra, co-founder of DreamItAlive.com, a global community guiding you to create your dream life with visualization tools, dream boards, and helpful personal development content. So why not take that next step, become the best version of yourself? Check out DreamItAlive.com. So today's guest is a really extraordinary entrepreneur and radio show personality, Brian Wright. And his own mission, coming from his own words, is to motivate and inspire others to discover their unique talents and follow their dreams in life. You know, Brian is doing something that is a phenomenal service for our society. We all are aspiring to achieve our dreams and goals. And there's many times when we need to hear from other people who have lived those dreams, accomplished those dreams, or know other dreamers that can guide you to help you on your own individual dreams. And I think that's why I'm such a big fan of the power of media and original content and, you know, things like books and things like that that can help you achieve your dreams. And what I like about Brian is that he weekly interviews really amazing dreamers and achievers, and I'm hoping to gauge from this conversation just a little insight on, you know, what it takes to achieve your dreams and goals, and what are some of the things that Brian has learned from some of the most amazing people that he has been able to talk to. He has actually written a book called Student Leadership Strategies, 21 Easy Ways to Become a Center of Influence in Your Group, and he recently created a new book, Success Profiles, Mental Toughness in Sales. So, Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me on the show, Ash. It means a lot.
Hey, you're absolutely welcome. So, Brian, why don't you tell us a little glimpse as to how you got to where you are, becoming this radio show personality and successful entrepreneur?
That's a really great question. I think my path took a couple of different turns, and a lot of people I talk to on my show say the same thing. I started out wanting to be a teacher. And so I went to Iowa State to major in communication studies, ended up at the University of Nebraska, ended up majoring in adult education and getting my master's degree from Nebraska. And then I taught at a 2-year business college during that time as well. I taught public speaking, English composition, and business math. And you may think, well, wow, what do those classes all have in common? Well, they were all general study courses. And I did have significant coursework in all 3 of those areas, and so they let me teach those 3 classes. The thing they all had in common was they were required classes. Not many people enjoy speaking. Not many people love writing a paper, and certainly not a lot of people enjoy doing math, unless, you know, they're complete nerds. And I own that. I own that because I was a little bit of a math nerd when I was growing up, too. I loved doing numbers. So it was my job to make it fun, and so I believe that I did. And as I was progressing through my life and deciding that being in the classroom is not something I wanted to spend my whole life doing, I decided that I wanted to enter sales and eventually merge the 2 fields of sales and education to become a trainer. And so I've been a trainer in a couple of different companies and spent quite a bit of time working in a call center environment, whether it was on the phones, whether it was in management, whether it was payroll, whether it was administration. I also did some resume writing, and that became a full-time adventure too. So it's always been my goal to help as many people do what they want as I possibly can. And so teaching fulfills that. Writing resumes for people fulfills that to help them achieve their dream careers. And then I ended up out here in Arizona where I am now and decided about 3 years ago to start this radio show. It's always been a goal of mine to have a radio show. It was something that's been in the back of my mind for a long time. And I finally met someone who had his own show and offered to help me get set up with TogiNet Radio, which is the company that I have my show through. It's now called Global Business Networks, I believe. But my 3-year anniversary on the show is coming up in January, and Ash, you're going to be on my show here coming up in a few weeks. I'm very excited to have you on as well. But my goal is to talk to some of the most amazingly successful people that I can find and learn their secrets of success, very much in the spirit of Napoleon Hill, because when he wrote Think and Grow Rich back in the 30s, he spent several years interviewing 500 of the richest and most successful people of his generation, and that's where Think and Grow Rich came from. It's my goal to interview as many successful people as I can and generate content too. In fact, I had a book come out here a couple months ago called Success Profiles, Mental Toughness in Sales, where I interviewed Jeffrey Gitomer, Eric Lofholm, and Scott Lopez. And we talked about mindset, having a world-class mindset learning about sales, and all of us are in sales, and all of us certainly need to be mentally tough, especially as society seems to get more ferocious and less friendly. But I'll tell you what, there's a mindset to that too, because if you believe that the universe is a friendly place, it will conspire to do you good. The people who feel like victims and don't want to take responsibility for where they are feel like the universe is not a friendly place, and they feel like life is happening to them instead of for them. And that's a huge, subtle but huge shift in mindset. So that's where I am now. I'm a radio show host, and I love putting together content for the world to consume, and my website just got revamped recently, and I'm so excited about all of that.
That's amazing. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I am looking forward to being on your show. I want to dive into the mindset. You talked about many times in this interview so far about, in order to be successful, you have to achieve a successful mindset. And I'm glad you profiled Scott Lopez. He was actually a guest on one of our earlier episodes. I'm curious, describe mindset and what it takes to achieve a successful mindset to achieve whatever you want in life.
That's a great question, Ash. I think you have to see it in your mind before it becomes a reality in your outer world. A lot of people think that I will believe it when I see it. Well, no, it's the opposite of that. You have to see it in your mind. In fact, when Walt Disney conceived of starting Disneyland, he saw this empty lot, and somebody had said to him, boy, it's sure a shame that you may never live to see the completion of this project. And he said, are you kidding? I've seen it in my mind. If I hadn't seen it all in my mind as a finished product first, you'd never get to see it either. So he had this whole idea of an entertainment empire, of an amusement park. He had all of this inside his head, very crystal clear in his mind. He knew what this was going to look like, put it all in his head, before the rest of us got to see and experience it. And I'm very glad. I've not been to Disneyland in California, but I've been to Disney World in Florida a couple of different times. And I'll tell you what, they run that thing like a very well-oiled machine. Everything they do has a specific purpose. In fact, if you ever want to study the anatomy of a successful business, go to Disney World, not just for the sheer enjoyment of meeting Mickey and Donald and the show and the entertainment and the amusement, but really look at the stuff behind the stuff. Look at everything they are saying and doing. They refer to their employee as cast members. See how that spins around? Everyone is referred to as a cast member. That is such an inclusive term, and I love that. It really helps people understand and feel like they are part of a family when they're working for the Disney Corporation. Everything they do has a purpose.
Okay. Well, tell me about another guest or meaningful conversation you've had that, personally helped you achieve some of the bigger dreams that you must have.
So, some of the guests that I've had who have helped me achieve bigger dreams?
Or inspired you to achieve your own dreams, because you're a student of life too, it seems.
Absolutely. Well, Greg Reed has been on my show a couple of times. He is a very well-known and multi-best-selling author. He's a filmmaker. He put together a movie called Think and Grow Rich, Stick and Ability. In fact, he is now a main writer for the Napoleon Hill Foundation. So there are a lot of Think and Grow Rich themed books that are being put out currently. He and Sharon Lechter are very involved in the Napoleon Hill Foundation. But one thing I've learned from Greg is that it's really, life is all about coming from a place of service. When you are giving, you are going to receive. Don't give just to receive, but give with the spirit of giving with no expectations, and then things will start to conspire in your favor. And it's really interesting. Anytime I run into somebody, whether it's online or on the phone or at conferences, I can tell who's been around Greg Reed, because the question that always gets asked is, how can I serve you? How can I love on you today? How can I make your business grow? What can I do for you to help you in achieving what you need? And I always love that question, because they're asking that first before they're asking me for a favor personally from them. So that's probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned by dealing with really amazing people, is they are coming from a place of service rather than a place of taking first.
I love that. You mentioned Napoleon Hill just now, and you mentioned the organization a little earlier. I actually believe that the whole book, Think and Grow Rich, it's like the Bible, where every time you read it, you learn something new, both spiritually and on a kind of personal growth type level. Why do you feel that book has had such an impact? Because I have heard, every self-help business peak performance speaker that you can think of. And they always mention that book as the original self-help, personal growth, become your best self book. Why is that?
I think he's one of the very first people that really put all that research together. Now, Napoleon Hill would say, first of all, that there was another book, The Master Key System by Charles Haanel, that was written back in the 1910s, 1920s, or like 1919, I think. Napoleon Hill credits that as being something that really drew him into personal development, and the fact that he met Andrew Carnegie, and Andrew Carnegie gave him basically the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. And I don't know if you're familiar with how the whole Think and Grow Rich thing came about, but for those listening, Andrew Carnegie granted Napoleon Hill an interview, a series of interviews spread out over several days and several weeks. And Andrew Carnegie says, success is available to everyone who knows what it takes to do it. And there really isn't a document out there that does that. So what I want you to do, Napoleon Hill, is put together such a document. And I have a big Rolodex here, and I will grant you access to 500 of the most successful people of our generation. And you go interview all of them, and you put that together in a document. And he didn't get paid to do this. He did this for free in his spare time. So it took him 20 years to do this, but he did it. And boy, I'll tell you what, it is a great document because it does pull together the wisdom of the most successful people. He was one of the very first ones to correlate what the qualities were, what the characteristics were, what the tendencies were of the people who were highly successful. And the first of those, which he outlined in chapter 1, was to have a burning desire. I mean, no one achieved anything that didn't have a burning desire to achieve it, first of all. So you have to not only see it in your mind, like I talked about earlier, but you have to have a burning desire to make that thing come true. It has to be so ingrained in your head. You have to have such a passion for what you want to accomplish that you can't help but succeed.
Okay, no, that makes total sense. What about what are some traits that you've seen that successful individuals that you've interviewed have? Now, when I mean that, what are some more practical things like rituals or meditation, visualization? Do they do any goal setting tools? What are just some things that really impressed you in talking to these people?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had a guy on my show a couple of times named Hal Elrod, and he wrote a book called The Miracle Morning. And from your question, this is a perfect segue because he wrote a book called The Miracle Morning, and the subtitle is How to Get More Done Before 8 a.m. than most people do all day long. And he outlines an hour-long ritual. It doesn't have to take an hour, but he takes an hour every morning to do 6 different disciplines, if I can remember all of them right off the top of my head: visualization, affirmations, exercise, reading, journaling. I think yoga might be one of them. I can't remember, but there were 6 of them for sure. But he spends 10 minutes doing each of them, and everyone who's ever done this has reported having more energy, more clarity, and that's really, really important because if you are just focusing on meditating and visualizing and affirming, and then you do some exercise and all the disciplines that he talks about, you are going to feel like you've gotten a lot done because a lot of people think, oh, I don't have time. Well, make time, get up an hour earlier and do it. And all great champions do this. All great champions find a way no matter what. So in terms of answering the question about rituals, that's definitely something. Another quality that I would say is inherently true in all great champions is they don't give up. There are going to be obstacles no matter what. In fact, if you encounter no obstacles at all, then the thing that you're trying to achieve probably wasn't that difficult to do anyway. So all great champions find a way to break through the obstacles. Success is not convenient. Success is not quick, but to the ones who are willing to stick it out and who are believing in what they want to do, those people are going to do it. In fact, when I do my talks to groups, I talk about Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, and now have a whole bunch of books that spin off from that. Their goal by, I think, 2020 is to have sold 8 billion copies of Chicken Soup-related titles, and they're on their way. They're well past 100 million now. They're probably closer to 200 million now, and these things tend to grow exponentially. But did you know that they were turned down by 144 publishers before someone decided to take a chance on them? Most people hear no once, twice, 3 times, and they just throw in the towel. Oh, this isn't for me. This isn't working. This isn't worth it. Oh, no. I think it's God's way of saying, how badly do you really, really want it?
That's
so
awesome.
They don't give up.
Yeah. I know. I'm hearing this that famous story of Colonel Sanders. He went to I think 1,000 people before someone finally gave him the investment for his own recipe, and because everyone loved his chicken, but they actually wanted the recipe. They wanted to say, hey, make us the chicken and we'll be like a catering service company. He's like, no, I want to create my own KFC, blah blah blah. So that's a cool story that you just shared. One last question about kind of where you see entrepreneurship going before I dive into what's next for you. What are some, industries or trends or things that you feel are exciting, like from a business level? It could be I think Tesla cars are going to go well, or I think this type of media is going to go well, or I think men's health is going to go well. What are some things that excite you and you think are going to be on the rise for 2015 and beyond?
Wow, that's a really great question. I'm not real connected to what's going on in terms of technology, but I will say whatever is out there, it comes back to the fundamentals, because you're meeting very specific needs. There are things that will need to be done to help people meet health. I mean, with the population getting older, health is always going to be a much, much bigger concern going forward. So anything that enhances health, I think, is going to be absolutely huge. Anything that enhances people connecting with one another is going to be absolutely huge. That's why I love the internet. That's why technology-based things are definitely on the rise, and we're just not going to get away from that. I mean, we're not going to go back to Little House on the Prairie, and I think one thing with technology, though, is people tend to lose the face-to-face connection. And I hope that we don't lose that. I hope we don't lose the basic niceties of life, of like saying please and thank you. I think the world is going to reward people who keep the fundamentals in place, but we can advance while keeping those fundamentals in place. So I really think health definitely is one of the areas where we're going to grow. And if your product or service is catering to an aging population, I think your opportunities are going to be astronomical in the coming decade.
Okay. Well, what is next for you? What do you want to accomplish?
That's a really wonderful question. My big goal is to not only have my show on the internet, but also to move to terrestrial radio and have a bunch of affiliates in local markets, because I think that would be a wonderful way to leverage what I'm doing and reach even more people. I mean, a lot of people are listening to internet radio, but a lot of people still listen to terrestrial radio. And I don't think terrestrial radio is really ever truly going to go away. I mean, sure, there's satellite radio, so you can listen to online-based radio in your cars, and maybe more cars will be equipped to handle online types of channels in the future. I think that's definitely a possibility. But I think terrestrial radio is definitely not going to go away anytime soon. I would love to be able to leverage opportunities in local markets to share my message. And I think personal development is something that is very necessary. I think hearing about success and incorporating success and learning how to achieve greatly is something that we're all striving for. We all want to become and be something more than we currently are. That tendency and that drive and that desire, I don't think, are ever going away. So I want to do that, and I want to continue writing books, and I want to continue reaching more people. And I honestly believe that everyone has a book inside them. I'm starting a coaching program real soon where I can help people put their books together. I think every single person has a book inside them, and I believe that everyone is uniquely skilled and talented and expert in something if they only choose to develop it. And I want to help people bring their message to the world as well. That's why I do my show.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you for making the world become a better place. I really love your show, and I can't wait to be on it, and I can't wait to keep supporting it, sharing it to friends, and yeah, keep up the good work. Thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely. And if anyone wants to check out my current book, which is called Success Profiles, Mental Toughness in Sales, you can find it on Amazon. And again, I interview Jeffrey Gitomer, Scott Lopez, and Eric Lofholm. It's all about being mentally tough. It's about learning how to achieve greatly even more in your life. And I think you'll find it very well worth the read. And it's available in the Kindle store. You do not have to own a Kindle in order to read it. Amazon does have a free app where you can read the book once you've purchased it.
Awesome. Well, have a good day, Brian.
Thank you so much, Ash, for having me on.